culture hour. We're going to give everyone about 5 minutes to join us.
Hi everyone, you can hold off on putting your 800 number in the chat. We will send a form at the very end of the event where you can put your 800 number in. So you don't have to put it out publicly right now. You can wait till the end of the session today when we send out a link for you to enter your 800 numbers.
Yeah, so this is a change in how we had been doing it. We found it a lot easier to just send you guys a link to a form at the very end to submit your 800 numbers to. So just hold off on putting them into the chat, and we'll send you that form right at the end. If for some reason you have an extenuating circumstance, feel free to message myself or Wendy or Juliet privately and explaining your situation, but that's only for the few of you that do have extenuating circumstances, like a class, so you can't stay until the very end. We'll end about 2 o'clock. We go over sometimes, but if you're here until 2 o'clock, you can still receive cultural credit. Also, we are recording this, so just know that anything you say or type in the chat will be recorded, and that if you do have to leave early, you'll be able to watch the rest of it over the recording. And we're going to get started right at 1:05, just to give everyone a chance to get in here. Once again, you don't need to send your 800 numbers in the chat. I know you guys that are just coming in who didn't hear us before. We're going to be sending out a form so that at the very end of it, you can click on the form and fill it out. That just makes it easier for us to send all of your information to the registrar to put in your cultural credits, and so that nobody gets missed.
We're going to get started in just a minute here. Again, you don't need your 800 number. And at the end, we'll have a Kahoot and a little giveaway for the winner.
So today we're talking about Israel. Juliet's going to share her screen here in a second once we get all these technological bugs out of the way. And then Lana is here to talk to us about Israel. So just give us some time and be a little bit patient while we get the screen shared, and then we'll get into the presentation. Lana, if you wanted to go ahead and introduce yourself, you're more than welcome.
Sure. Hi everyone. Am I able to like also put on my camera right now?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sure. I will. Okay. Just 1 second. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Hi everyone. My name is Lana Kolchinsky. I am a junior here at Stetson, majoring in political science. and I am the current president of Stetson University Hillel, which is the Jewish student org on campus. Just a little bit about what that club is a Jewish cultural, spiritual, social organization. We do things every single week, and we can't wait to be back in person so we can have our large free dinners every Friday night. Definitely follow us on Instagram at Stetson University Hillel, and stay tuned for more events there. But a little bit more about me and what I'm doing here today is, as I said, I'm the president of Hillel. I also have spent a cumulative 7 months in Israel over the past couple of years. It's a really important place for me. I have a lot of friends there and a lot of great memories, so I'm really happy to be here talking today about that. So thank you. I'm not sure if there's any other information that I should share about myself. Yeah, Morgan or Juliet, just let me know.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, thank you so much. We're super excited to have you here, and I guess we'll start the presentation. Can everyone see it okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Sorry about that, my Wi-Fi cut out. All right, let's get so to start here, just a couple maps of Israel. I know, like, I'm terrible with geography, so this is really important to me to start to learn, like, where countries are located. So here are a couple maps to help out. Lana, if you want to jump in with anything at any time.
Yes. I'll begin by actually starting talking about some recent national holidays that have just passed, literally the past 2 days, and that's Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut. So the word Zikaron means remembrance, and essentially it is the Israeli Memorial Day or Remembrance Day, where they just spend the day reflecting and remembering all of the fallen soldiers from the Israeli Defense Forces, which is the Israeli army. And that was actually 2 days ago on the 13th. And then yesterday was Yom HaAtzmaut, which is the Israeli Independence Day, where, yeah, I mean, it's essentially like the 4th of July. In Israel, where everyone's partying and celebrating, and it is really an interesting dynamic when they have essentially their Memorial Day and their Independence Day one after the other, because the Remembrance Day is like very somber, and then they go straight into a large national party the next day. So yeah. Yeah, so religion is a huge, important aspect in the birth of Israel, but also Israeli society today. It's a really wild and interesting dynamic that I urge everyone to be to educate themselves about, because it's genuinely very interesting. But essentially, Israel is the only Jewish state in the world, where, as you can see, 81% of the population is Jewish, and then so like all of that blue, those different shades of blue are just different sects of Judaism, so like different levels of religiosity. As you can see, there's Hiloni, which is secular, Masorti, traditional, which is somewhere in the middle, Dati, which is religious, and Haredi, which is ultra religious. And then there's also a large Muslim population, Christian, and Druze. The Druze religion is also very interesting. I don't know as much about it. I'd love to talk about it more. But definitely, I urge everyone to look that up as well. But essentially, yes, like the culture, the spirit of Israel in its core a Jewish state. So yeah. Okay. Favorite topic. So as Israel is a very culturally Jewish, as well as the majority of the citizens are Jewish, there's a lot of Middle Eastern Jewish fusion. So as you can see all the way on the right, so challah is just like a Jewish food. It's people eat it all over the world. We at Hillel eat it every Friday at Shabbat dinner. It's the braided bread is significant of representing when Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden before the first Shabbat, which is the day of rest or the Sabbath day. The story goes that God braided Eve's hair, so we eat braided bread every week. But that's more of a Jewish like world food. Not specific to Israel. We eat it everywhere. And then also on the other side, on the left, there's kugel, which is also just a general Jewish food. It's really, really, yeah, I love kugel as well. Really popular in Eastern Europe as well. And there's a bunch of different types of kugel. There's potato kugel. There's noodle kugel. Some are more like dinner kugels or dessert kugels. Really good. My bubby makes great kugel. My grandma. So love kugel. And then in the middle there's hummus and falafel, which is not necessarily like a Jewish food. It's more of just a general Middle Eastern food. And hummus is a dip that's made out of chickpeas and as its main base, and then falafel, which is, surprise, also made out of chickpeas as its main ingredient as well. But it's fried, great vegetarian meal, very popular dish. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I see some of the comments. Kugel is my favorite as well. I remember I would always go to Shabbat with one of my family friends, and it was just like a family gathering, and with friends, it was great. But that was always my favorite. So I have a video on challah and how to cook it, an easy recipe that I'll share with you all if I can figure out the screen.
Julia, I don't think we can hear it. So if you want to pause it real fast, try to reshare it with sound.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, if you click in the share screen part, it'll say like if you go to the tab and then click check mark the box at the bottom left corner that says share audio.
Okay, cool. I see it. Thank you.
I just have it written out from like 10 years ago, but I will copy and paste it in the description below. So to get started, all you need to do is take 1 cup of water and pour in a pouch and a half of active dry yeast. The water needs to be really warm, and that way it will activate the yeast, and just set it aside, mix it in, and let it do its thing. You want to make sure it bubbles. Next, into your mixer, you're just going to crack 2 eggs, add in 1 cup of the oil, and then a teaspoon of salt. Another great thing about this recipe is it's really just mixing and stirring everything all together in the same bowl. So here I'm just adding half a cup of sugar and letting that stir together with the eggs and oil. Then I'm adding in the yeast and water mixture and letting that go. Then I just put this little topper on my KitchenAid. It just helps when you're adding dry ingredients to make sure you don't spill all over the place, although for me they generally still do. And I'm just going to add 4 cups of flour. Once that is all stirred together, I'm going to take the dough mixture out of the KitchenAid bowl using some flour on my hands and just put it in another bowl. I usually put a little bit of flour at the bottom of this bowl just to help it, because it is a pretty sticky dough. And I'll just knead it with my hands for about 5 minutes. The dough mixture should stick to your hands a little bit, but definitely put flour on them so it doesn't get out of control. And you want to form this into a good ball and just knead it all the way through. Once you have your ball-shaped form, you're going to just leave it to rest in your bowl, cover it with a towel, and put it someplace warm to sit and rise for about 1.5 hours. So this is another great thing about this recipe is you can at this point just take it and braid the dough, or if you have more time you can feel free to punch it down and let it rise again for another 1.5 hours. All that does is make the dough fluffier, but I don't personally care and I don't have the time, so I just let it go for that first 1.5 hours and then I roll it, braid it, and bake it. So here I am just separating the dough into 3 equal strands to make the challah braid. I use flour on my hands and on the surface. Then I pinch the 3 strands together at the top, braid them like a normal braid, and pinch them at the bottom as well, and then just tuck in the bottom and top so that their ends aren't seen. Then the last step you need to do before putting it in the oven is placing it on a baking sheet with parchment paper, and then I like to put an egg wash on top of the challah just to help make it shine. I'm just using water and oil because we actually had ran out of eggs and it worked totally fine. You can also use milk if you're having a dairy meal, and eggs as well for egg wash. Then I'm putting it into the oven at 350 degrees for about 25 minutes. So there she is, all baked up and beautiful. The smell of warm challah when it comes out of the oven is truly unlike anything else, people. It is so freaking delicious, and yeah, I cannot wait to eat this up for Shabbat. We ate this whole thing over the weekend, which always happens because it's just so
Alright. Bear with me while I switch the screens. Okay, and on to music. I selected a music video from this past year. It's about like COVID and how everyone's coping with it and everything. But Lana, if you wanted to talk first a little bit about some of the music you experienced and listened to while you were there, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So Israel is really wild with their music because there's so many different people who come from all around the world to live there. A lot of the music is really multicultural and amazing and cool and fun. I, of course, have my favorites. Like some of the people you'll actually see in this video, including the first guy who sings. His name is Omar Adam. He's very popular. He's got a lot of music out. He's been singing for years. He's very Middle Eastern pop. And then I'm sure some people might be familiar with the song Toy. It was pretty popular on TikTok the past couple of months. And that is an Israeli song that actually won the Eurovision contest a couple years ago. But the music in Israel, y'all should follow my Spotify playlist. It's called Am Yisrael Chai. I'll put that in the chat later. But there's a lot of different rap, pop, Middle Eastern music to listen to. A lot of the singers, this music video is a collaboration between a lot of popular Israeli singers from a lot of different genres, such as like again Middle Eastern pop or slower, more acoustic music, or what a lot of Israelis call tourist pop, because it's just like very basic, what the Americans like to listen to when they come over. So yeah, that's about it. If anyone wants music suggestions, please let me know and I will provide.
Awesome, thank you.
ארץ של שמש על הים התיכון, הגלים פה לא שקטים, זה אומר המון.
והחול של הנגב ועד החרמון, בית חם ובו כולם אומרים שלום.
מול כל מכשול וכל חידה, עוד תקוותנו לא עבדה. מה יוליד יום זאת לא נדע, ועל הכל נאמר תודה.
כמו שהיה, ככה יהיה, עברנו הכל, נעבור גם את זה.
לא יפלו פנינו, זה קטן עלינו.
כמו שהיה, ככה יהיה, עברנו הכל, נעבור גם את זה.
לא יפלו פנינו, זה קטן עלינו. קפה במרפסת, ריחות של שבת, איך כולנו פה אותו דבר כמעט. לשמור על הדגל, הפעם אחת.
למה עוד אפשר, הזמן עובר לאט. מול כל מכשול וכל חידה, עוד תקוותנו לא עבדה.
מה יוליד יום זאת לא נדע, לא על הכל נאמר תודה.
כמו שהיה, ככה יהיה, עברנו הכל, נעבור גם את זה. לא יפלו פנינו, זה קטן עלינו. כמו שהיה, ככה יהיה, עברנו הכל, נעבור גם את זה.
לא יפלו פנינו,
זה קטן עלינו.
רפ ישראלי זה קטן עלינו, הצהריים מינימלית, עם אחד כולם מעורבבים כמו כימיקלים, עובדים מ8 עד 5 אבל חולמים דולרים, סוף שבוע ממלאים מועדונים ופאבים, זה לא חלום או בדיחה, יש לנו גם משפחה, יחד איתי ואיתך, כולם ינשמו לרווחה, יש לנו לב וגם יש לנו שכל וכוח, רצון וטיפה של מזל, כולנו אש, אין לנו פחד,
ככה בטוח יהיה לנו קל. מול כל מכשול וכל חידה, עוד תקוותנו לא עבדה.
מה יוליד יום זאת לא נדע, ועל הכל נאמר תודה.
כמו שהיה, ככה יהיה, עברנו הכל, נעבור גם את זה.
לא יפלו פנינו, זה קטן עלינו.
גם את זה.
לא יפלו פנינו, זה קטן עלינו.
לא יפלו פנינו, זה קטן עלינו.
Okay, next we have a little language lesson. We like to do this with all of the culture hours. I don't know if Lana, if you want to help with pronunciation, if there's someone
Yeah.
else that wants to volunteer to practice pronunciation with these.
I can go through them, and I guess then if anyone wants to try out, that'd be fine. Okay. So I'm not like super great. I don't speak Hebrew except for like a few phrases and words, but I know this stuff. So I'm not going to push the accent so I don't embarrass myself. But shalom is how you greet well, it's a basic way of greeting someone. And it means hello, goodbye, but it also means peace. And the way it's written in Hebrew, I don't know, I'm sure people saw the Hebrew writing before, so there's a taste of what the alphabet looks like. But the root word is shin lamed mem, which is also the root word for the word shalem, which means whole. So, you know, it's when you're at peace, you're whole. So that's a fun fact. And then there's it sounds a lot like salam, which is the Arabic equivalent. And then there's yalla, which is actually Arabic, but it's just easy to say. So, and that just means like let's go. So if you want to like say to your friends, oh let's move, let's go here, you say like, yalla. And then there's lehitraot, which means see you later. There's makare, which means how are you, or like what's up, really. There's tikva, which means hope. And then there's chagiga, which means celebration or party, and that word has the guttural like sound, so it's chagiga. So yeah.
Does anyone want to volunteer to practice some of these words?
I think Sky raised her hand. She might want to participate with Lana and go through some language exchange.
Okay, cool. Sky, you can just unmute yourself if you'd like.
Awesome, thank you very much. So for hello, it's shalom. Let's go is yalla. Lehitraot is see you later. Makore is how are you. Tikva is hope. And Hagiga is celebration or party.
Amazing job, Sky. I already knew you were good at this though.
I think Alexa also raised her hand if she wants to try. You're more than
Yeah,
welcome.
go ahead, Alexa, if you'd like.
Okay. Shalom. Yalla. Lana, will you say that third one more time?
Yeah, it's lehitraot.
Lahitrot.
Mhm.
And then Makora, Tikva, and can you say the last one again?
Sure, it's chagiga.
Chagiga.
Mhm.
Okay.
Nice job.
Awesome job, guys.
Or in Hebrew, you could say mitsuyan, which means amazing, or yafeh, which means beautiful.
Oh, cool. Okay. The next thing we have on here are major cities. So we have 3 to show you. The first is Tel Aviv. Would you like to talk about that, Lana?
Yeah,
I don't know
sure.
if you visited there when you were.
Yeah, totally been to Tel Aviv. I've spent more time in one of the other cities that we'll talk about, but Tel Aviv is like the gosh, I'm not going to try and compare it to any American city because it's very different. But as you can see, it's a coastal city, so it's at the beach of the Mediterranean Sea. So it's a big tourist spot, big party area, a wonderful, yeah, if New York and Miami had a baby, yes, it would be Tel Aviv. It's a great spot for fun, but it's also a very booming city. With it's one of the most metropolitan areas in Israel, and it's actually the business district. The entrepreneurial district is actually known as the Startup Nation, which is the what is it? It's second only to Silicon Valley in tech startups. So it's a huge center for entrepreneurs, especially in the tech world. I want to see if anyone uses Waze. That's an Israeli company. That's an Israeli app. So that's cool. It has, again, amazing nightlife. It's just what you would imagine a city is. I always say that Israel has the quirkiness of a European country, the temperament of the Middle East, and the consumerism of America. So Tel Aviv is just the center of all of that. It's a great place to visit. Super fun, lots to do, great, beautiful beaches, always warm, and then yeah, it's very, very cool if you want to have a tech startup. Yeah. Okay, Jerusalem is like my home in Israel. It's where I've spent all of my long times in Israel have been spent in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is just there's no city on earth that's quite like Jerusalem. First of all, it's the holiest city for the Jewish people. So as you see on the left, you'll see a picture of a wall with a lot of people walking up to it, and then a dome right above and behind it. So that wall is the Western Wall of Jerusalem, and it's called the Western Wall because it is actually the Western Wall of the plaza that surrounded the what's called the Holy of Holies, the ancient temple that was destroyed back in 586 CE, I'm not sure. So people go there to pray. I've spent a lot of time on that in that zone because it's the place where people can feel closest to God, and it's just a really meaningful place for the Jewish people in what's called the Old City, which is where a lot of this ancient stuff is. And then right behind the wall is called the Dome of the Rock, and that's one of the holiest places in the world for the Muslim community. And I'm not going to speak too much on that because I don't feel qualified, but essentially I've been there. It's really beautiful. There are times when they let tourists come in, and it's essentially the headquarters of what's called the night or the night journey of the Prophet Muhammad. He had a significant experience there in a prophetic dream when he was alive. So again, very holy place for a lot of religions, as well as Christianity. Right about a minute's walk left of this picture is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which I guess we'll talk a little bit more about later. But Jerusalem is also a great place to do startups as well. But it's just a really unique place because people from all over the world will come and be there to see the sites, to pray if that's meaningful to them. But on the other side, it's a great tourist spot if you want to just have fun because, you know, the nightlife is, again, amazing. I always say, like, you could spend your whole day praying at the Western Wall, and then you can spend your nights partying at the outdoor market. That's just a 20-minute walk from here. And it's just a really beautiful city. I could go on for a very long time about it, but I won't. And we'll probably come back to it when we talk about more of the landmarks. But yeah, it's just a place where you can be walking down the street and you can meet someone from just about anywhere. So it's amazing. Okay, yeah, Haifa. Haifa is in the northernmost part of Israel, and there's Haifa is known as like the center of the north, like this most city-like part of the north of Israel. Has good universities there, just as there is in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. But it's the north of Israel is really beautiful. Haifa is a very interfaith city. It's actually the home of the Baha'i Gardens, which is certified as a World Heritage Site of the Baha'i people. And I was there. I didn't get to go into the gardens because it happened to be closed the day I was there. But if you ever get a chance to go, I strongly suggest it. I hope to get back there and take a tour of the gardens because it's ornate. It's absolutely beautiful. And yeah. Okay, so the Dead Sea is on. So as I mentioned before, the western side is the Mediterranean Sea, and then the eastern side there's a smaller sea called the Dead Sea, or the Yam HaMelech, or Yam HaMelech, which means Sea of the Dead. And it sounds depressing, but it's only called the Dead Sea because there's nothing living inside it, because all of those big rock sort of things that you see here, it's actually all salt. So it's just impossible for anything to live there. But what's really cool about the Dead Sea is because there's so much salt, you can float extremely easily. Like, it's really hard to, like, it's impossible to sink, essentially. You will stay afloat, and it's really interesting to swim there. If you get it in your eyes or your like nose or your mouth, it's one of the most painful things ever. But yeah, like, going in is a really fun experience because like it forces you to float. It's hard to describe in words, but it's a really interesting sensation that I definitely suggest visiting one day. Also, another thing that's popular there is there's of course like a beach part of the Dead Sea on the coast, and a lot of people like to do like mud baths with mud, and then they'll wash off the mud when they go into the sea, which obviously has a lot of salt and chemicals there, where after you're done, your skin is super smooth, and very glowy. So that's another thing people like to do there. Yeah. Okay, Masada is really interesting. So Masada is actually very close to the Dead Sea. It's just inland just a bit. And it's a very tall mountain amongst many other mountains, where it has a lot of historical significance. So it's really amazing to climb up Masada and watch the sunrise really early. It's definitely hard, I can tell you that. Some other people on this call can also tell you how hard it is. So yeah, the sunrise is absolutely beautiful, and it's overlooking the Dead Sea. It's wonderful. I have some pictures. I wish I would have been able to send them in earlier. But as you can see, there's ruins on top of the mountain, and essentially what it was when it was not ruins was essentially a summer home, a summer castle for King Herod, which was, I believe he was a Hellenistic king who ruled over Jerusalem and everyone living there. And this was his like little escape. But essentially there was, I'm not going to go into the details because I'm sure I'll mess it up, but there was a rebellion, and there were some of the Jewish soldiers of this ancient era were on top. They overtook this little fortress / summer home, but then they were surrounded by the enemy forces, and essentially they knew that they wouldn't be able to take on the Romans that were surrounding them. So they actually committed a mass suicide, which is a terrible, terrible thing, a terrible, thing to think about, especially when you've just climbed your way up to this mountain to see this beautiful view. But it does have a really interesting historical significance. So yeah, and you can take tours and you can walk within the ruins while you're up there too. You can even see some like remnants of bathhouses as well. So it's definitely cool. Okay, yes, back to the Western Wall. So again, this is Jerusalem, and this is in Jerusalem. And of course, a lot of people think that this wall was part of the Holy of Holy temple of the Jewish people, but it's actually the Western Wall of the plaza that surrounded that temple. And the temple itself was really just the size of one room, one small room. It was a tall but not very large, and the only person who would go in there is the highest ranking priest, and they would only go in there once a year because it was known as the place that you were like really close to God. So no one would actually go up there, but they would go around and pray around it. And now that's what we do at this wall that's been here for very long, and people still come every day. I actually spent a summer in Jerusalem 2 summers ago, and I was living about 30 seconds from the Western Wall, so it was a really meaningful experience for me. And yeah, people, Jews and non-Jews, come from all over the world to see it. And it's funny because in a set, like physically it's just a wall, but it has so much spiritual and historical significance to the Jewish people that people will go there. It's also known as the Wailing Wall, because a lot of times when people go there, they feel very emotional, and many shed a tear. It's a wonderful place to celebrate Shabbat, or the Sabbath, as we mentioned before, to sing songs and really feel connected to one another. Yeah. Okay, so I can't speak quite as much to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but it is basically, the church is built around where I believe Jesus was put on trial, where he was walking through Jerusalem with the large crucifix on his back, and this is around that area. So it's of course, like really significant to the Christian community. I've been inside, kind of found it by accident one day when I was wandering through the old city. But it's really beautiful, very ornate inside. And as you go down, there's a lot of different levels of it. And as you go down, you're really underground, and there's no air conditioning, obviously, so it gets really muggy and hot. But it's really beautiful and a very meaningful place for the Christian community. And almost every day you'll see like church groups from around the world doing like sort of rituals and processions through the Christian quarter of the old city for their church group, and they'll end up like their final destination is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So yeah, definitely beautiful structure. Okay, I could talk about birthright.
Okay,
So
if you want
yeah,
to.
yeah. So birthright is this really interesting trip that was started. Not sure the year, but it's been going on for a lot of years now. Essentially for young Jews around the world to be able to experience like the historical and religious and spiritual homeland of the Jewish people. It's funded by a bunch of like donations and stuff like that, and people raise money for it, where it lets young Jewish adults go and explore all of the places and things that we've talked about and more. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to go into like the logistics because yeah, but it's a really meaningful experience. I did it a couple years ago, and you get to just see the sights. So yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can show the website a little bit. It's, let me see if I can get it up here. Okay. So here it is. The trip is all free of cost. I believe it lasts 10 days. Does that sound right, Lana? I think it's 10 days. And it's free as long as you have Jewish heritage, like one of your family members. So it's a really good opportunity if you qualify. All the like application information is on their site. So like save your spot here, and they've like changed. They've altered things because of COVID-19, so they make it easier on you and like safer, like wearing masks and everything. And also cancellation is a lot easier in case you have some sort of issue. But definitely, if you qualify for it, I definitely recommend looking into it more and filling out an application. Okay, now we're going to share the Kahoot, and I think Morgan's going to pull that up for us.
Yep, just give me 1 second.
Thank you. And I'm going to drop the form for cultural credit in the chat in case anyone has to leave. Okay, I just dropped the form in the chat, so fill that out if you want to receive cultural credit. But I definitely recommend staying because it's a fun Kahoot, and there's a prize at the end if you win. So, and it's a fun like snack box, and it looks really good.
Awesome. Thanks, Juliet. So make sure everyone that you fill out that form that she just sent. That is the only way that you'll be able to get cultural credit unless you had messaged us earlier that you had to leave early. So make sure to fill out that form. You can wait to do it at the end. Make sure when you go into the Kahoot, by the way, to put your first and last name. Victoria, you're fine with your Victoria C there. But everyone else, make sure to, as best you can, put your first and last name. There is a character limit, so some people's longer names might not fit, but we just do this so that we can get you that prize. And whoever gets first place, we have a Jewish snack basket that we're going to send you. So if you do win first place, make sure that you email us when we're all finished. Don't worry, I'll put my email in the chat when we finish so that we can get that to you. You're going to email us with your address. But we'll see who wins. I wish good luck to everyone, and we'll get started here in a minute. So to join the Kahoot, you go to www.kahoot.it on your web browser, or you can download the Kahoot app. That might take a while though. And then you type in that game pin, and then it asks you to put in a nickname. Just put in your first and last name for it so that we know who it is that wins. The only way, once again, to get cultural credit will be to fill out that form in there. So if you send your 800 number in here, but you don't fill out the form, you won't be able to get cultural credit. If you are having issues, feel free to message me in the chat. We're just going to wait a little bit longer to see everyone get into the Kahoot. If you just want to watch the Kahoot and don't want to participate, totally fine. But that is how we're going to assign a prize at the end for the winner. So I'll give everyone 3 more minutes. At 1:55, we're going to start that Kahoot. If you're having issues, feel free to message us in the chat, either with the cultural credit form or with the Kahoot itself. Okay, speak now or forever hold your peace when it comes to the Kahoot. If you're still having trouble, just message in the chat real fast. If not, we're gonna get started in like 30 seconds. So you got 30 seconds to message in the chat if you want me to wait for you for the Kahoot. Otherwise, we're gonna get started. All right, let's get started. Best of luck to everyone. What is the name of Stetson's Jewish organization? This is kind of an easy one. A throwaway question just to get you guys started. Hopefully everyone gets it right. It's right there in the picture, in case you're having trouble. And I want to take this time to thank Lana again for being such a great presenter. We'll thank her at the end. Okay, some people got some of it wrong, but yeah, Hillel, that Lana is in. And yeah, so let's keep going. Good job, Alexa. You were the fastest one. So if no one's played a Kahoot before, real fast, just the points are allocated versus on getting a correct answer and then on being the fastest to select the correct answer. So overall, it's better to get the answer right, but if you can be as fast as possible, that'll get you the highest points. All right, next question. Which of these is Hebrew? Good job, guys. Almost everyone got it right. All right, next question. Got some changes on the scoreboard there. All right, this is a true or false question. Israel has the world's only underwater museum. Israel also currently has the highest concentration of museums in the world. We've got tons of them. A lot of history to share. Right? And it's true. Technically, there are some other things that are called kind of underwater museums, but an official underwater museum is in Israel. So that's pretty cool. All right, next. True or false again? 50% of Israel's population practices Judaism. True or false? It is false. All right. Which is a mandatory requirement for the birthright heritage trip? Is it being over 35, just wanting to visit Israel, Jewish heritage, or being a college student? What is a mandatory requirement? There you go. Thanks, Julia, for that. Yeah, so the correct answer is it's closer to 80% for the percentage of people who practice Judaism in Israel. So you guys are correct. It is Jewish heritage. So I got a couple of you with the being over 35. It's actually 18 to 32 years old can go on the birthright heritage trip. And then you don't have to be a college student. All right, Alexa's back on top. Which of these is the flag of Israel? All right, most of you got it right. We stumped a couple of you. Most of you got it right. Next one. True or false? Israel has more trees than it did 50 years ago. All right, yes, it's true. Israel has more trees than it did 50 years ago, which is awesome. It's one of the only countries in the world to have more trees than it used to. All right, next question, true or false? Israel is the only country to revive a dead language. True or false? It is true. All right. Alexa's still holding that top spot. Wonder if any of you can knock her off of it. What national holiday occurred yesterday for Israel? A couple of you were confused by the closeness of those two, but some of you got it right, so good job.
Yeah, Yom Hazat and the Remembrance Day were both very recent. Yom Hazat was yesterday, and was the Independence Day, and Remembrance Day was the day before.
All right, next question, true or false? Voicemail technology was developed in Israel. All right, it is true. It's really cool to see some of the different technological innovations around the world that have helped globally, for the most part, people's lives. So, voicemail technology, credited to Israel. Alrighty. Where is the Western Wall located? All right, good job. It is in Jerusalem. All right, last two questions. True or false? Military service is mandatory for adults and lasts about 2 years. It is true. We stumped a couple of you there. All right, last question. How many beaches does Israel have? 52, 28, 78, or 137? This is the last question, so make sure to get it right. So it's 137. The highest out of all the options. All right, let's see what the final podium is. Third place, we have Sky. Good job. In second place, Kimberly. Valid effort. And in first place, we have Alexa. She was at the top for a while. So Alexa, I'm going to put my email in the chat. If you could just send me an email with your address in it, we can send you that prize. So I'm going to stop sharing, but I'd like to thank all of you for coming, and Juliet can take us away. Make sure you guys filled out that form for cultural credit.
Yeah, thank you, Morgan, and a special thanks to Lana. She did a great job presenting some really great information. We have another virtual culture hour if you're interested in 2 weeks on April 29th, and it'll be on Spain. So join us for that one as well. Thank you all for coming.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to stick them around and put them in chat. But if not, thanks for coming. Like Juliet said, thank you, Juliet, for being a wonderful presenter. Thank you, Lana, for being a wonderful presenter as well.
Thank you.
Once again, make sure to be here for that last culture hour, April 29th on Stetson Study Day on Spain. Especially for those seniors that need to graduate with cultural credits.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Lana.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime. Thanks for putting this on. Bye-bye.
Does anyone that's left have any questions? If not, you're free to go. Good job, Juliet. You did it. You made it through.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's it. I don't know if anybody has any questions left over. As long as everyone got a chance to fill out that form, we're all set. So we're going to end now. Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, they haven't logged out now. We're good. So, yeah, Juliet, thanks. Bye. Bye, Wendy. Wendy's reconnecting. Okay, cool. We're done. Bye.